All right, our medical system is absolutely broken, especially when it comes to healthcare for our children. If you look at it, antibiotic rates, they're higher than ever, yet our children are still having reoccurring infections more and more. So the sick care system that we're commonly engaging with is just not working for healthcare. And that's really where we're going to focus on this separation, is using this sick care system for those in emergency situations, but not using it for a health driven focus. See, kids see a pediatrician on average 9 times by their second birthday. And most of these are for well baby visits, right? But they're not equating to healthier children. They're not more resilient when it comes to their body's expression to fight off infections or illnesses. So it's simple. We can't go to doctors for these sick care approaches, which are really just shots and measurements, right? There's zero proactive health-based focuses. And our doctors just aren't discussing why kids nowadays are getting sicker and sicker. And this chemically focused medical system is not providing health internally. So if you're a parent whose goal is to raise a child who's healthy, they're resilient, they're grounded emotionally, you're going to have to switch it up. Because fortunately, our children have the amazing potential to be regulated in their body's performance and function. Now, every one of us, including our children, has an immune system which is directly controlled by the master system, which is our nervous system. And that's what we're here today to discuss, is this amazing neuroimmune system and how to improve its performance and engage proper regulation so that when a virus or a bacteria comes into the body, it can be properly prepared to ward it off. Our society sees so many childhood infections, whether it's the common cold, a virus, an ear infection, RSV, pneumonia. Kids are having really low rates of resilience. They're getting sick and it's wiping them out. So many kids assume that or adults assume that it's normal for kids to get sick, which they brush it off, no big deal. But the thing is that it's only partially correct. See, kids do need to get sick in order to strengthen their immune systems, especially as they're actively aging. But the challenge is that they shouldn't get sick to the point where they need this chemical assistance through antibiotics and intervention by most pediatricians. The goal here in the discussion is to create resilience in this neuroimmune system so that their bodies can naturally fight off these sicknesses with ease. And that's where we have to focus on how to get this properly functioning neuroimmune system, which leads them to really being resistant towards those viruses and illnesses. Now, 5 out of 6 kids, almost 85%, will have at least one ear infection by their 3rd birthday. Now, 25% of these children will have 3 or more infections by age 3. So it's wild to see that these infections are reoccurring, which shows that the intervention provided by most doctors, which is broad spectrum antibiotics, is not helping to create resilience. If an infection comes into the body and it's the same infection each and every time, the body should have this learned behavior, this systematic approach to fight off viruses and infection in the future. Now, there are some struggles with the geography inside the body for children, meaning that kids get ear infections more often than adults. We all are aware of that. Now, they have a flatter eustachian tube, and it's easier to get it blocked. Whether the child has a cold or an allergy, that bacteria or that virus likes to hang out in fluid-rich areas, which that inner ear is really an area where they love to hang out at. However, you also have to remember that God's design of children's developments is very specific. And it's an area where the body is designed perfect. It's just that the body is susceptible to these infections if the infrastructure is not built in a healthy development. Now, the immune system's also still developing in kids, and it's a common denominator of why adults may not get as sick as children do. But the challenge that we're seeing in this society, and what I see in my practice at least, is that kids who get sick are getting sick a lot more often, and their bodies are really struggling to respond appropriately, meaning that their bodies don't engage with the appropriate systems to overcome the virus. And so many parents, when a kid gets sick, they're managing symptoms through chemically based healthcare, and they're not focusing on these proactive levels. How do I support their immune system? How do I make sure that their nervous system is actually orchestrating its behavior appropriately? And how to actually help that child gain resilience versus having them susceptible to illnesses, which then we become dependent on this antibiotic rich medical system. Now, if an ear infection is left untreated, right? Let's just say the kid gets sick, they're managing it properly, their body's raising up with the fever, it's having the drainage appropriately. It's going to last 3 to 7 days. That's the normal period. No more than 10 days for a virus to be involved in the body. But the majority of these can be self-resolving if that child's neuroimmune system is strong and resistant, meaning it allows the body to fight it off like it's designed to. Now, the treatment options, if you go to a traditional doctor, are very reactive, meaning you're managing symptoms through chemically based healthcare. Whereas in a neurological chiropractic approach, we're providing supportive based infrastructures to help support the body's innate potential to ward off that bacteria or virus. So most pediatricians, they're using these broad spectrum antibiotics. They're not doing specific testing to identify the specific bacteria that's causing the problem, and they're utilizing antibiotics that speed up the recovery. But if you think about it, you're taking an antibiotic for 5 to 10 days. You don't go to the doctor on day 1 of the bacterial infection. You usually go at the worst height of the symptoms, which if it lasts 7 to 10 days, it's going to be on day 2 to day 3, which is the top of that bell curve with regards to their improvement happening shortly thereafter. So the antibiotics can help in situations, but it's not really shortening the duration of time, nor do these antibiotics actually create more resilient immune systems. And we're all aware that antibiotics destroy the gut bacteria. And what we're not focusing on is how does that immune system communicate with the brain? And that's through that neuroimmune system. Now, the ear tubes that kids get surgically implanted, these things are the next step. And this unfortunately happens when antibiotics are used over several periods of time, meaning the kid continues to get ear infections over and over again. Now, when we look at the surgical ventilation of that middle ear, when the fluid builds up, they poke a hole in it, put a tube in it, and it minimizes that fluid buildup. But it doesn't get to the root cause of why the infection is reoccurring. And the problem is that if you look on the medical concerns, is let's say hypothetically you just ignore the ear infection, let it keep going, it happens over and over again. They're worried about the infection actually rupturing the eardrum. But then the medical treatment is to actually surgically rupture it and poke a hole in there. So something's off here. We're not getting to the root cause. And most interventions, even seeing a specialist like an ENT, is only going to provide opportunities with medications or surgeries. And nobody's ever talking about a preventative measure. And our preventative measures in this delivery system are very limited, and they're generally chemically based versus supporting the natural immune system internally. Now, chiropractic care helps to improve the functionality of the cessation tube. And you have to remember that every system and every muscle, organ, and tissue in the body is controlled by the nervous system. So this intricate network of nerves allows the brain and body to communicate together. And the adjustments help to reduce inflammation. It supports a healthy, resilient nervous system, which will naturally alleviate that fluid buildup, and it's going to reduce pain, and it boosts their immune response so that their bodies are more resilient over time. So when it comes to this preventative measure, we can really start to build a healthier infrastructure, but the challenge is that our kids, they're not getting the support from the development. They're not getting it from the birth mechanisms. Breastfeeding should be done for 6 months or more, and when they're bottle fed, unfortunately, they're laying more on a flat back, so they're more susceptible to the drainage issues. And this is really where certain feeding positions can promote the blockage of the ear canal. So again, we want to look at all these different levels, and we're going to touch base on this in a few moments, but there's something that we're not really discussing, and I like to use a three-legged stool analogy, and it's something that doesn't get discussed by most doctors, is that your child's immune system, their nervous system, and the hormonal system aren't three separate systems that work independently. They function as one integrated unit, like a stool with three legs. And this is what researchers call this neuroendocrine immune super system. And this amazing system really is the design of the body's natural resilience to fight off bacteria and infections. Now, if one of these three legs become wobbly, the entire thing tips over. And you cannot stabilize it by focusing on the legs that look fine. You have to find the one that's a little shaky. Now, the nervous system is the master control. It's the air traffic controller coordinating every other system of the body. And it regulates the immune response. It determines whether inflammation is turned on or off, and it decides if your child mounts an appropriate defense or an excessive one. So when the nervous system is stuck in a stress mode, the immune function becomes chaotic. Some kids become immune suppressed and catch everything, while others become hyperactive with severe allergies. Many kids I see, they're swinging back and forth between both of these extremes. And this explains why your child is sick while other kids in the same environment stay healthy. The difference isn't immune system strength. It's whether the nervous system can properly regulate and modulate the immune system itself. Now, thankfully, we have this amazing nerve, the vagus nerve, and it is the immune system's off switch. It really helps to calibrate the body's functionality. There's one nerve, like the vagus nerve, that controls most of the child's immune regulation, and most parents have not heard of it until now. This vagus nerve is the longest nerve in your entire child's body, and it runs from the brainstem down through the neck, past the heart and lungs, to all the way down to the digestive system, where 70 to 80% of the immune system hangs out. Now, here's the thing, is that most parents have already started to work with the child's gut. But you have to remember is that you can put all the supplements in, you can do the biomedical integrative medicine focuses on gut health, but if the neurological connection, the wiring to that system is faulty, no matter what you put into that gut, the brain and body connection are still disconnected. And this nerve that we're discussing acts as your child's inflammation off switch. Now, when it's working properly, it detects inflammations, it elevates the threat, it releases calming signals, and it turns the immune system off once the job is complete. Your child recovers and returns to normal baseline health. Now, that's a normal functioning nervous system. But when the vagus nerve isn't functioning properly, kids get sick. The fire alarm keeps blaring even after the fire is out. And then chronic inflammation becomes their baseline instead of an exception. Now, think of it like a car with two pedals. The sympathetic nervous system is the gas pedal. It activates this fight or flight and ramps up inflammation. Whereas the parasympathetic nervous system is controlled by the vagus nerve, and it's the brake pedal. It calms, it restores, and it allows recovery to occur inside the body. Most of our kids, though, today are stuck with the gas pedal pressed to the floor, and the brake pedal barely works. And this is why kids who can't overcome sicknesses get sick so often. Now, it starts early. It can start prior to conception with mom's health. It can happen during the birthing process, and I see so often that it starts with birth trauma. Here's what most parents don't realize is that the vagus nerve exits the skull at the upper neck, right where birth trauma tends to occur. During birth, especially interventions like C-sections, forceps, vacuum extractions, or even a Pitocin induction, the delicate upper cervical spine experiences forces that it's just not designed to handle. This physical trauma creates what we call subluxation, which is a combination of misalignment and neurological interference to this upper cervical region. And it disrupts the vagus nerve's ability to communicate properly between the brain and the body. So, for most parents, if you're seeing this type of information, there's an opportunity first is that we've got to get your kid's nervous system checked. And that's why we use very specialized technology. We use insight neurological scans, which help to identify, objectify, and measure where distress in the neuroimmune system where it's occurring. Then we're able to formulate a customized care plan unique for your child's needs. We then cater specific and gentle adjustments to each child's sensitivity regions. Some kids are overregulated, some kids are underregulated, and that's where we have to customize each approach. It's not broad spectrum, it's not a one size fit all. We find exactly what your child can handle and what time is necessary in order to really regain calming and functionality within this neuroimmune system. So if this information is interesting to you, take a look at our website. Shoot us a DM if you have questions or specific items of discussion to talk about, or just give us a call. Maximize Chiropractic in West Sacramento, and we're here to serve you and your family's healthcare needs so that we can have a resilient, a strong winter sick season where your child is the one who's not getting sick in school, not causing chaotic craziness at home, and having a calm and regulated environment. We look forward to serving you.